We are live. Spooling up, one of my favorite words. Still don't understand why I use it. I should say supercharging up, but you know what? That's the way it goes. Evansville Farmers Market back there. You need to come out for lunch. An awesome community collaboration back there. You can grab your fresh veggies, food, get some people time, get some one-on-one time over here. A great place to celebrate Evansville, Indiana. Robin and her team does an amazing job. Thank you for that, Robin. All right, so we are here on Extend Group Live, 9 o'clock on a Wednesday. We are live with questions on compassion, on consistency, and on content. And if you haven't figured it out yet, that content thing has to do with 1 and 2. When you truly understand the first two, we'll get to content, and there's a lot of content ways to deliver it. Today, I've listened to a lot of podcasts about COVID-19, watched a lot of news lately. Man, what an interesting time. Very interested in what you think about the time that we're living in. I have some thoughts. I need to research those more. I need to know myself a little more before I fully speak on them. But I know it's changed. It's changed a lot of people. It's changed a lot of organizations, and it's changed our community. Isn't that nice? That's SIG schools. I think the 15th high school, rated 15th high school in all the United States, right behind over here at Bell Tower. Awesome. Rabbit hole. So when we're talking about that compassion in it, it's interesting because when we talk about communication and we talk about getting to being consistently compassionate, 60% of all teams function ineffectively. And when I started a program that everyone is starting to hear me talking about a lot, Giant, and was certified in 5 voices, the thing that drew me to it was the concept that everyone speaks, not everyone is heard. And that floored me because I'm always going, okay, innovation, everybody wants to be out in front, right? Like, why don't we want to be, why doesn't everybody want to change, and why doesn't everybody want to go fast, and why doesn't everybody think about what could be next? And, you know, I'm a futurist voice. So I personally, there's 5 voices here. On this phone, I have like 5 voices. We have nurturer. They're the champions of people, relational harmony, and they are 43% of the population. That's my number 5. There's 5 voices, all the way down number 5. 43% of the population. Then there's the creative, champion of free ideas, innovation, and organizational integrity. Like, are we practicing what we preach? You know what? That's 9% of the population. Then you look at Guardian. Guardians represent 30% of the population. Guardian is my number 3. So when you talk about Guardian, champions of due diligence, resources, systems, processes, the whole thing. And then we have Connector, champion of relational networks and collaboration and team building and what if and how far, and celebrate all those things. And then you have the Pioneer, 7% of the population, strategic, results driven, everything is at the highest voice. It's the loudest voice of them all. But guess what? Typically 7% of the it's 7% of the population. And a majority of our organizations are typically led by a connector, which is 11%, or a pioneer, which is a 7%. I personally am a connector, or I personally am a creative, pioneer, guardian. I'm an INTP in Myers-Briggs world, which means that when I speak, less than 3% of the room, if you have 100, understand what I'm talking about. Everybody talks about unicorns. I might be one. And after talking about Myers-Briggs and really getting to know the INTP, yeah, out of 100 people in a room, I connect with 3. So, all that being said, there's a lot going on in the world. And everyone speaks, not everyone is heard. So when you start to think about where we're at with COVID, where we're at with what's happening on our conversation on race and things of those natures, we should understand that maybe when we speak, we're not heard. And what does it look like to be on the other side? So go to live.theextendgroup.com, and there's a link to get to Giant.tv. And when you go there, you get 30 days free. Take the assessment. Take the assessment, because I want to know. Sophie's on the other end of this. She's a guardian, pioneer, connector, right? So she likes to connect with people. Guardian number 1, systems, processes, down to the core, loves resources, wants to make sure she's not wasting anybody's time. She's a pioneer, which means she's strategic. She took the test and is helping me get this content out. Without her, the creative pioneer doesn't act because they're too self-aware. They're too afraid to make that happen. So go to live.theextendgroup.com, click on the assessment, 5 Voices assessment. Take it. It's free. You can get on the whole platform. There's a whole educational series, everything on there. But go to live.theextendgroup.com. Let's schedule a time once you take the test. I want to know if you're a creative. I want to know if you're a nurturer. I want to know if you're a guardian. I want to know if you're a pioneer. Because then I want to connect maybe you with organizations that need that voice. Because 80% of all people today in their jobs are unhappy. They feel undervalued, and they feel like they're not heard. So once again, everyone speaks, not everyone is heard. 5 voices, that would help us get to a foundation of organizational clarity, of community clarity. And once again, you cannot give what you don't possess. If you do not have self-awareness, you can't lead your family, your teams, your organizations, and overall your community, in your community. Live.theextendgroup.com.